You ever notice how quietly your attention slips away, almost without you realizing it? One moment you're focused, present, aware of your own mind, and the next, something unseen is pulling you like a thread. Epictetus would say that nothing is stolen from us unless we hand it over. And today, without even thinking, we give away the most sacred thing we own, our attention. But stop for a moment and actually feel what's happening inside you. Ask yourself, when did you last decide where your mind goes? When did you last choose your thoughts instead of being dragged by them? Look closely, and you'll see that the world is constantly trying to scatter your mind through noise, distractions, fears, desires, notifications, comparisons, and invisible expectations. And when a person loses their attention, they lose themselves, because what you notice determines what you think. What you think shapes what you feel, and what you feel guides every action that follows. If someone else captures your attention, they begin to shape your inner world, and you don't even realize it's happening. Epictetus reminds us no one is free who is not master of himself. So ask yourself honestly, are you the master of your mind right now? Or have you allowed the world to pull your focus in 1,000 directions until you no longer know what truly matters to you? This moment right here is your chance to take back what you've been giving away for years. Your attention is your life, and if you don't reclaim it, someone else will live through you. Breathe. Come back to yourself. This is where the reclaiming begins. You might think your attention is being taken by force, but look closely and you will see something deeper. The world does not grab your mind with chains. It distracts you with tiny choices that seem harmless. A quick look here, a small thought there, a moment of curiosity that pulls you a little further away from yourself, and slowly your mind becomes scattered like dust in the wind. Epictetus would tell you that nothing outside has real power over you unless you place that power in its hands. So pause for a moment and observe the truth. Every time you reach for something without intention, you hand over a piece of your inner freedom. Every time you let your thoughts wander without direction, you lose a part of your own strength. Your attention is not stolen in a single moment. It fades through countless small moments where you let yourself drift. You become busy but not productive. You feel tired but not fulfilled. You move through your day, yet feel disconnected from your own purpose. And in this quiet loss, you forget who you are. Look within, and you will notice something important. Your mind is always asking for guidance. It wants clarity, it wants direction, it wants a steady hand to keep it aligned with what truly matters. Without this guidance, your thoughts scatter like leaves in a storm and you begin to feel lost. So take this moment and return to yourself. Do not fight the world. Simply choose where your inner gaze will rest. Choose what deserves your energy. Choose the thoughts that lift you rather than the ones that weaken you. Your attention is your anchor. When you hold it with intention, you become grounded. When you let it drift, you become a stranger in your own life. This is where your strength begins, in the quiet act of choosing what your mind will hold. There is a moment in every life when a person finally sees how much of their day is lived on autopilot. You wake up, and your mind instantly reaches outward. It looks for noise, it looks for distraction, it looks for something to pull it away from the simplicity of being present. This habit feels normal, yet it slowly drains the strength of your inner world. Epictetus would remind you that the first step toward freedom is awareness. You cannot reclaim your attention until you recognize how often you let it wander without purpose. Notice how your thoughts jump from worry to desire to fear to comparison. Notice how quickly your mind leaves the task in front of you and runs towards something that offers a brief moment of escape. This constant drifting creates a silent exhaustion. You feel overwhelmed, not because life is too heavy, but because your attention is scattered across too many things. Your energy is pulled in directions that do not serve you. You become mentally tired even before your day truly begins. But there is a deeper truth waiting beneath all this. Your mind is not your enemy. It is simply untrained. It follows whatever captures it first, because you have not yet shown it where to rest. Like a young horse, it runs wild until a calm and steady hand guides it. That steady hand is you. When you choose to become aware of your thoughts, you begin to reclaim the ground you lost. You start to see the difference between what is important and what only pretends to be. You start to feel the weight of your own choices. Each moment becomes an opportunity to return to yourself. So breathe and observe. Watch your thoughts without chasing them. Let your attention settle on the present moment. Feel the quiet that follows. In this quiet you reclaim a piece of yourself, and with each piece regained, you begin to live with intention rather than impulse. There comes a point when you begin to notice how easily the mind reaches for anything that offers quick relief. A small distraction feels harmless, yet it slowly becomes a habit. The moment you feel bored, your mind looks for stimulation. The moment you feel uncertain, it looks for escape. And without realizing it, you train yourself to avoid the very silence that could rebuild your inner strength. Epictetus would say that the mind becomes weak when it is never taught to sit with itself. Strength does not come from running away from discomfort. Strength comes from meeting it with calm presence. When you allow yourself to stay in a moment of stillness, you begin to feel parts of your inner world that have been ignored for too long. You see your fears, you see your desires, you see the thoughts that pull you away from who you want to be. This honesty can feel uncomfortable, yet it is the doorway to true mastery. You cannot control what you refuse to face. You cannot guide a mind that you avoid listening to. The world has taught you to constantly look outward, but the Stoic path teaches you to return inward and reclaim what was lost. Sit with yourself for a moment. Notice how your thoughts move. Notice how they reach for anything that promises quick comfort. Do not judge them. Only observe. This simple act of watching without reacting begins to change everything. Your mind slowly learns that it does not need to chase every impulse. It begins to trust your guidance. It begins to settle. And when the mind settles, the world becomes clearer. You start to recognize which thoughts deserve your energy and which thoughts only drain you. You realize that peace is not something you find outside. Peace is something you build by taking responsibility for your inner life. This is the beginning of inner discipline. It starts with awareness, it grows with consistency, and it transforms your entire life when you finally learn to stay with yourself instead of escaping into distraction. As you spend more time looking within, you begin to understand something important. Distraction is not only an external force, it is also an inner habit formed over many years. Your mind has learned to run from discomfort. It has learned to seek quick relief instead of lasting strength. And because of this habit, you often lose control before you even notice what is happening. Epictetus would tell you that the real battle is not with the world, it is with the thoughts you allow to grow inside you. If you do not guard your own mind, someone else will fill it for you. If you do not choose your focus, your surroundings will choose it for you. This is why attention is sacred. It shapes the person you become. Look at your day with honesty. How many moments do you truly spend with intention? How many moments do you move with awareness? Most of the time, your thoughts drift from one thing to the next without your permission. They jump toward fear. They jump toward desire. They jump toward noise. And each jump takes you further away from yourself. But this drifting is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that your mind is waiting to be guided. It wants direction. It wants clarity. It wants a clear sense of what matters. When you begin to choose your focus with purpose, your inner world slowly shifts. You start to feel grounded. You start to feel present. You start to feel a quiet strength rising within you. Take a moment now and feel your attention returning to your breath. Feel your awareness settling into your body. Feel yourself becoming more present than you have been all day. This simple act reminds you that you are not powerless. You are capable of guiding your own mind. This is where the rebuilding begins, not through force, not through pressure, through calm presence, through steady intention, through the choice to return to yourself again and again. There is a quiet danger in allowing your attention to drift without care. It does not happen in a single dramatic moment. It happens slowly. It happens in small choices repeated again and again until they become the habit of your mind. Each glance at something trivial, each thought that pulls you away, each distraction that feels harmless. Together they steal the time and energy you never realized you had given away. Epictetus would remind you that the mind is like a garden. If you do not tend it, weeds grow quickly. If you do not choose what to plant, the ground fills with whatever happens to take root. Your attention is the soil of your life. What you allow it to hold shapes the life you live. If you fill it with fleeting distractions, your inner world becomes barren. If you fill it with clarity and focus, your life blooms with strength. Notice how often you let your mind chase shadows, how often you give yourself to thoughts that offer no nourishment, how often you allow the noise of the world to pull you away from the silence that builds resilience. Each time you do this, you give up a piece of your freedom. Each time you let your attention scatter, you lose connection with the person you were meant to be. But there is hope, because awareness is always the first step. When you pause and watch your mind without judgment, you plant the seed of mastery. You learn that you are not a prisoner of distraction. You are the keeper of your own attention. You are the one who decides what to nurture and what to let go. Practice this daily. Notice when your focus drifts. Gently return it to what matters. Train your mind as a gardener tends a garden. Remove the thoughts that weaken you. Feed the thoughts that strengthen you. In time, your attention becomes steady. Your mind becomes your ally. Your life becomes a reflection of the clarity you have cultivated within. This is the power of conscious attention. It is not flashy. It is not dramatic. But it is unstoppable when practiced with patience and intention. You may not notice it at first, but your attention is constantly under siege. It is pulled by countless invisible forces that seem small but accumulate over time. A fleeting thought here, a moment of worry there, a brief glance at something that does not matter. Each instance feels insignificant, yet together they shape the state of your mind and slowly steal your inner peace. Epictetus would teach that the key to freedom lies in understanding where your attention goes. No one can take it from you unless you give it away. And giving it away is so easy because it often happens without awareness. You drift from one thought to another. You react to what appears in front of you instead of choosing what to focus on. You live scattered rather than whole. Think for a moment about how it feels when your mind is truly focused. There is clarity there. There is calm. There is power that comes from knowing exactly where you stand within yourself. That power is not found in noise or distraction. It is found in moments when your mind rests on what is meaningful and refuses to chase the fleeting and the irrelevant. Yet reclaiming attention requires patience. You cannot force the mind into focus like bending a branch. You must guide it gently. You must return it again and again to what matters. And each time you do, you grow stronger. Each time you choose purpose over distraction, you build the habit of presence. Each time you observe your thoughts without surrendering to them, you remind yourself that your mind belongs to you. Slowly your perception changes. You begin to notice which thoughts are serving you and which are stealing your energy. You start to recognize the patterns that keep you scattered. You learn to act with intention rather than reaction. And in this practice, the quiet strength of self-mastery grows until it shapes every moment of your life. Your attention is the most precious resource you own. Guard it, train it, choose it deliberately, and in doing so, you will begin to live a life that is not dictated by what distracts you, but guided by what truly matters. Many people believe that they are too busy to control their attention, yet the truth is that everyone has the same 24 hours. What makes the difference is not the amount of time, but how you direct your mind. Epictetus would say that a mind allowed to drift becomes a servant to every passing impulse, while a mind guided with purpose becomes a fortress of freedom. Notice how often your attention moves without your consent. A thought arises and you follow it. A notification appears and your mind jumps. A fear whispers and you respond. All of these small movements seem harmless, but they build a life that is fragmented and shallow. Each time your focus wanders, you hand over a piece of your inner life. Each time you react without thought, You reinforce the habit of being led by the external rather than by yourself. True control comes from consistent awareness. It comes from observing your mind as a witness rather than as a participant in every fleeting urge. It comes from recognizing that what you give your attention to shapes who you are. Every thought you nurture becomes part of your character. Every distraction you indulge diminishes your power. Take a moment now and feel the weight of this truth. Your attention is the compass of your existence. Where it rests determines the direction of your life. And yet it is often treated carelessly as if it were limitless. The Stoic path teaches that every choice matters. Every moment of awareness strengthens you. Every act of surrender weakens you. So begin to watch your thoughts closely. Notice which ones serve your purpose and which ones steal your energy. Return your focus gently but firmly to what matters. In this practice, the mind begins to settle. The world no longer pulls you in every direction. You start to feel the quiet authority that comes from mastering your inner life. Remember this always. Freedom is not about changing the world. Freedom is about reclaiming your attention and using it to build a life of clarity, strength, and purpose. When you hold your attention with care, you hold the key to your own destiny. There is a subtle tragedy in living without awareness. You go through the motions of your day, yet your mind is elsewhere. You respond to the world without being present for yourself. You think you are acting freely, yet every choice is shaped by the distractions you have allowed to take root. Epictetus would say that a person who cannot govern their attention is not free at all. Look at your own life with honesty. How many times do you realize you have spent hours consumed by trivial matters? How many times do you find your mind replaying fears or regrets instead of being fully alive in the moment? This is not weakness, it is habit. A habit formed by allowing external noise to dominate the inner landscape. The power to change this lies within you. It begins with a single conscious choice to return your focus to what truly matters. When you pause and decide where your mind will rest, you begin to reclaim control. When you choose the thoughts that serve you and release the ones that do not, you begin to feel strength rising inside. Your attention is like a flame. If you let the wind of distraction blow it around, it becomes weak and flickering. If you shelter it and guide it with care, it burns, steady and bright. This flame illuminates your life and gives you the clarity to see what matters and what is fleeting. Practice returning to yourself in small moments throughout the day. Observe your thoughts without judgment. Notice when they pull you away and gently guide them back. Each act of awareness builds resilience. Each act of focus strengthens the foundation of your inner world. Over time, the mind becomes steady and deliberate. It no longer drifts without consent. It learns that it belongs to you, and you alone. This is the quiet victory of the Stoic mind. It is not measured in applause or recognition. It is measured in presence. It is measured in the ability to remain rooted in yourself even as the world tries to pull you away. The life you build. From this awareness is a life of clarity, freedom, and unwavering purpose. Have you ever noticed how quickly moments disappear when your mind is elsewhere? Time slips silently through your fingers while attention chases shadows. Epictetus would remind you that every instant surrendered to distraction diminishes the strength of your inner self. You are not losing hours. You are losing pieces of your own life that cannot be reclaimed. Consider what it means to truly focus. It is not about forcing the mind into rigid discipline. It is about creating space for awareness to grow. It is about observing thoughts as they arise and choosing which ones deserve energy. It is about cultivating patience so that the mind can settle naturally instead of being pulled by every impulse. The world constantly offers temptations that promise relief yet deliver emptiness. You may follow these impulses, thinking they bring pleasure, yet they only scatter your energy and cloud your judgment. The Stoic path teaches that freedom comes from refusing to surrender to every passing thought. Freedom comes from cultivating inner clarity and deciding what deserves your attention. Notice how calm life becomes when focus is reclaimed. Small distractions lose their power. The mind becomes a steady companion instead of a runaway. servant. You begin to act intentionally rather than react unconsciously. You see clearly what is essential and allow everything else to fade into the background. Each moment of attention regained strengthens the foundation of your inner world. Each choice to remain present builds resilience. Each act of mindful observation trains the mind to recognize what is valuable and what is fleeting. Over time, life becomes aligned with your purpose. Actions feel deliberate, thoughts feel clear, emotions feel steady. This is not a sudden transformation. It grows quietly through consistent practice. By holding your attention as a precious resource, you reclaim control over your life. You begin to live not as a passenger in your own mind, but as the guide of your thoughts and the master of your inner world. You may feel pulled in every direction by countless demands, yet the root of this struggle lies within. Your attention wanders because you have not yet trained it to stay where it serves you best. Epictetus would remind you that the mind belongs to no one else, and its direction determines the quality of every moment. Pause and notice the patterns of your own focus. How often do fleeting thoughts dictate your actions? How often does your energy follow what is trivial rather than what is meaningful? This is not punishment. It is a reflection of habits you have allowed to form over time. Habits can be unlearned, focus can be restored, inner strength can be rebuilt. The practice begins with awareness. Observe without judgment. Recognize when your mind drifts toward empty pursuits, then gently guide it back to what is valuable. Each small act of attention reclaimed strengthens your capacity to live deliberately. Each moment of conscious choice builds the framework for a life rooted in clarity and purpose. Distractions will continue to appear. The world will offer endless reasons for your mind to wander. Yet with patience and persistence you learn to notice them without surrendering. You discover that your inner world is a sanctuary. You learn that calm presence is a fortress no one can breach. As you cultivate this discipline, you will notice a profound difference. Decisions feel lighter yet more grounded. Thoughts move with clarity rather than chaos. Actions reflect intention rather than reaction. And slowly, the scattered fragments of your mind form a coherent whole that carries you steadily toward what matters most. This is the essence of Stoic mastery, not the absence of challenge, but the presence of conscious focus, not the removal of temptation, but the ability to navigate it without losing yourself. Every reclaimed moment of attention is a step toward freedom and the life you were meant to live. Have you ever felt as though life is moving around you while you remain elsewhere? This is the cost of unattended attention. Hours pass unnoticed. Thoughts multiply and choices are shaped by forces you barely recognize. Epictetus would remind you that freedom is born when you guard the mind and refuse to surrender it to every passing impulse. Look closely at where your focus rests. Does it linger on what strengthens you, or does it chase fleeting impressions? The mind that wanders without care becomes a servant to circumstance and emotion. The mind that chooses where to rest builds resilience and clarity. Each conscious decision strengthens the inner foundation upon which life is built. Reclaiming attention is not about harsh discipline, it is about gentle awareness and repeated practice. Notice when your energy is pulled toward distraction. Notice when thoughts wander into worry, fear, or meaningless comparisons. Then return to what is meaningful to you. Each act of this kind strengthens your capacity for calm presence. As you train your mind to remain centered, you discover a new sense of power. Life no longer dictates your actions. Your inner world becomes steady and coherent. Decisions feel guided rather than forced. Actions arise from clarity rather than reaction. You realize that your mind is the source of true freedom. Every moment of attention regained is a victory. Each choice to remain present is a building block for a life aligned with purpose. Distractions lose their grip as awareness grows. Inner strength emerges quietly yet unmistakably. Over time, your mind becomes a fortress from which you can observe the world without being swept away. This is the work of living deliberately. It requires patience and vigilance. It requires observing without judging and returning without force. Yet in this practice you find a freedom deeper than any external possession. You become the master of your attention and through it the master of your own life. Every day offers countless moments where your attention can be lost if you do not remain vigilant. Small distractions appear constantly, and you may barely notice them as they pull energy away from what truly matters. Epictetus would say that to live well, you must treat your mind as a sanctuary and refuse to let it be scattered by trivial concerns. Observe how often the mind drifts toward unnecessary worries or empty pleasures. This wandering is natural, yet it shapes the life you experience. Each thought you indulge without awareness slowly erodes clarity and strength. Yet the mind is not inherently weak. It responds to guidance and direction when you consistently choose where it rests. The process of reclaiming focus requires patience and repeated effort. Notice when your attention slips. Gently guide it back to the present. Focus on what builds understanding and purpose rather than what merely entertains or distracts. Each act of deliberate choice strengthens the ability to remain grounded amid chaos. As you cultivate this habit, the quality of your inner life transforms. Thoughts no longer pull you in conflicting directions. Emotions become steadier because they are no longer fueled by scattered energy. Actions arise from clarity and not reaction. The sense of being present in your own life grows stronger with each conscious moment. Freedom begins with awareness and grows through practice. Each instance of attention reclaimed reinforces the foundation of inner mastery. Small moments accumulate into lasting strength. The mind once scattered becomes a source of calm insight and deliberate action. In this way, life aligns naturally with what truly matters rather than what merely demands fleeting attention. Moments of distraction often feel harmless, yet they quietly shape the way life unfolds. A single thought pursued without awareness may seem small, but repeated over time it directs the mind away from purpose. Epictetus would remind you that no external force can truly control you unless you surrender your focus. Attention is the gateway to freedom and the foundation of all meaningful action. Consider how frequently your mind drifts to things that neither serve nor strengthen you. Every glance at something irrelevant, every fleeting worry, every desire for quick gratification carries away energy that could have been used to build clarity and strength. The mind becomes scattered, not because the world is chaotic, but because attention is given without choice. Restoring focus begins with observing the patterns of your thoughts. Notice what attracts your attention and ask whether it aligns with your intentions. Each time you redirect the mind back to what is valuable, you strengthen your ability to remain present. Each act of careful attention becomes a brick in the foundation of inner resilience. As this practice deepens, life begins to change subtly yet profoundly. You feel less pulled by external events and more grounded in your own judgment. Decisions become clearer because they are based on reflection rather than reaction. Actions gain weight because they emerge from a mind that is steady and deliberate. True mastery of the mind is quiet and unassuming. It does not shout or demand notice. It is built slowly through countless small choices to remain present and aware. In this calm practice, the scattered energy of distraction is reclaimed. The mind becomes a tool of clarity, a source of strength, and a guide to living intentionally in every moment. Silence often reveals what the mind has lost. In moments when the world quiets, you begin to sense how much of your attention has been surrendered unknowingly. Epictetus would say that no one can take what you guard consciously, yet when awareness is absent, even small distractions gradually claim your life. Attention is not merely a tool, it is the essence of your freedom. Notice the ease with which thoughts drift toward what is urgent but not important. A fleeting fear, a minor desire, a passing curiosity can dominate hours of your day if you allow them to. The mind that is not trained becomes a servant to everything around it. The mind that is guided with intention becomes a master of its own destiny. The path toward reclaiming focus is simple yet demanding. Observe your mental habits without judgment. Recognize the impulses that pull you away from what matters most. Then, with gentle persistence, return your attention to what builds strength, understanding, and purpose. Each repeated act of deliberate focus reinforces inner stability. As awareness grows, you begin to notice a transformation in daily life. Energy that once scattered becomes concentrated. Thoughts move with clarity and intention. Decisions emerge from reflection rather than reaction. You feel the quiet authority that arises when the mind is no longer a victim of external chaos, but a guardian of itself. This mastery is cultivated slowly over time. It is built from repeated choices that strengthen presence, patience, and discernment. The mind, once restless, becomes calm and deliberate. The life once pulled in every direction becomes aligned with the principles and goals you hold most deeply. In this way, attention is reclaimed and freedom is restored. Awareness is the first step toward reclaiming the mind. When you notice how easily attention drifts, you begin to understand the forces that shape your inner life. Epictetus would say that the soul belongs only to itself, and that discipline begins with observing where your focus goes. Each thought allowed to wander without choice weakens presence and diminishes the power to act deliberately. Reflect on the way your mind moves from one fleeting impression to another. It follows fear or desire or curiosity without pause. These habits may seem natural, yet they carry the mind away from purpose. Each distraction draws energy from the life that could have been spent building clarity, strength, and understanding. Reclaiming attention requires practice and persistence. Notice when the mind drifts. Gently guide it back to what is meaningful. Repeat this process without judgment. Each return strengthens the inner foundation. Each deliberate choice cultivates patience and focus. Over time, the mind learns that it belongs to you and that it can be steady even amid chaos. As this practice deepens, you begin to sense the effect in every area of life. Thoughts become coherent, decisions become deliberate, actions align with intention. Distractions lose their grip because the mind has learned to recognize what is essential and release what is fleeting. Presence becomes natural, and strength arises quietly from the foundation you have built. This is the work of a Stoic mind. It is not sudden. It is not dramatic. It is cultivated through repeated acts of awareness and careful attention. In this quiet mastery, life shifts. The scattered energy of distraction is transformed into the focused power of intention. Freedom grows because the mind has returned to its rightful owner. Focus is a skill that is cultivated through repeated attention. Life constantly offers distractions that seem urgent, yet they pull the mind away from what is truly valuable. Epictetus would remind you that no one can claim your thoughts unless you surrender them. Every moment allowed to wander without purpose diminishes the strength and clarity of your inner world. Examine how often your attention moves toward fleeting concerns. A small worry, a minor temptation, a brief curiosity can take hold and dominate without your permission. The restless mind becomes a servant to the external and loses the capacity to act with wisdom. The disciplined mind chooses its focus deliberately and builds power from awareness. Reclaiming attention begins with noticing patterns of thought. Observe impulses as they arise and decide which ones deserve energy. Gently return the mind to what strengthens understanding and cultivates calm. Each act of this kind builds the foundation of steady presence. Each return reinforces patience and strengthens resilience. Over time, the effect becomes visible in daily life. Decisions are guided by insight rather than reaction. Actions arise from clarity rather than distraction. The mind feels grounded even in the presence of chaos. Energy is concentrated on what matters most, and the habits of scattered thought diminish. This process is quiet yet transformative. It does not rely on external change but on internal mastery. Each moment of reclaimed attention builds freedom. Each deliberate choice strengthens purpose. And slowly the mind becomes a sanctuary of clarity from which you can navigate life with intention and calm confidence. Strength of mind begins with the recognition that attention is finite and precious. Every thought allowed to drift without choice is energy lost. Epictetus would remind you that freedom is not given by circumstance but claimed through mastery of your own focus. When the mind is guided with intention, it becomes a source of power and resilience that no external force can disturb. Notice how often the mind seeks escape from stillness or discomfort. It chases fleeting pleasures or avoids thoughts that require reflection. These habits may feel harmless, yet they slowly erode presence and clarity. Awareness brings the ability to pause and observe rather than react blindly. Each moment of noticing is a step toward reclaiming authority over your own life. The practice of returning the mind to what truly matters is not instantaneous. It requires patience, repeated effort, and gentle persistence. Each time you guide your attention deliberately, you strengthen the ability to remain grounded. Each moment of focus builds a foundation upon which wisdom and calm can grow. As this skill develops, you begin to see life differently. Small distractions no longer dominate. Decisions arise from reflection rather than impulse. Energy is invested in what is meaningful, and fleeting impressions lose their power. You feel a growing sense of inner stability and a quiet authority that is independent of external events. This is the essence of Stoic discipline. It is built from repeated acts of awareness and deliberate attention. Freedom emerges not from changing the world, but from mastering the mind. Each reclaimed moment reinforces presence and purpose, and slowly life aligns with the principles and values you hold most deeply. Clarity emerges when the mind is trained to remain present. Thoughts that once scattered energy begin to settle. Epictetus would teach that the soul cannot be disturbed by what is external if attention is carefully guided. The person who chooses where their focus rests discovers freedom in every moment and strength that cannot be taken away. Reflect on the small ways your attention is lost each day. A fleeting concern, a passing desire. A minor distraction may seem insignificant, yet together they shape the life you live. Unnoticed they accumulate and fragment awareness, leaving the mind restless and reactive. The disciplined mind notices this tendency and gently returns to what is meaningful and nourishing. Reclaiming attention requires repeated effort and patience. Observe your impulses without judgment. Recognize which thoughts align with purpose and which do not. Direct energy toward reflection, calm, and understanding. Each deliberate act strengthens the mind and reinforces the capacity for inner stability. As this practice deepens, presence becomes natural. Decisions arise with clarity rather than confusion. Actions reflect intention rather than reaction. The restless energy of distraction diminishes, and the mind becomes a steady companion in all circumstances. Strength grows quietly and steadily as awareness becomes consistent. This is the work of living deliberately. Freedom is cultivated from within through conscious attention and patient guidance of thought. Each moment of reclaimed focus builds a life of clarity, power, and inner calm. The mind once scattered becomes a source of stability and the foundation upon which a meaningful existence is constructed. Presence is the foundation of every meaningful action. When the mind drifts constantly, life slips by unnoticed. Epictetus would remind you that mastery begins with awareness and careful direction of attention. No external circumstance can disturb a mind that has been trained to remain steady and deliberate. Consider the countless moments each day when focus is surrendered without thought. A minor distraction, a fleeting worry, a simple curiosity may seem harmless, yet they gradually erode energy and fragment awareness. The scattered mind reacts rather than chooses and loses connection with what truly matters. Returning attention to what is essential requires patience and repeated practice. Observe each thought as it arises. Recognize whether it serves purpose or only draws energy away. Gently guide the mind back to reflection, insight, and deliberate action. Each act of focused attention strengthens resilience and reinforces the habit of presence. Over time, the effect extends into every aspect of life. Decisions are informed by clarity rather than impulse. Actions are deliberate rather than reactionary. Distractions lose influence, and the mind becomes a steady companion, capable of navigating chaos with calm confidence. Awareness grows into a form of quiet power that shapes perception, energy, and choice. This cultivation of focus is the work of Stoic mastery. Freedom is not gained from changing the world, but from reclaiming the mind. Each moment of deliberate attention builds strength, clarity, and calm. The scattered energy of distraction is transformed into purpose. Life becomes aligned with intention, and the mind becomes a sanctuary from which wisdom and stability flow naturally. Discipline of the mind begins with small, consistent acts. Each time attention is guided toward what is meaningful, a foundation of strength is laid. Epictetus would say that no one can claim your thoughts unless you allow it. The mind that is trained through repeated awareness becomes steady and powerful in every situation. Notice the ease with which focus can be lost. A passing desire, a fleeting concern. A trivial distraction may seem insignificant, yet together they shape perception, energy, and action. Awareness allows you to see these tendencies and intervene before they fragment the mind. Each return to purposeful attention strengthens calm and reinforces deliberate choice. Developing mastery requires patience and gentle persistence. Observe thoughts as they arise and decide whether they serve understanding, growth, or clarity. Let go of the ones that do not. Each act of conscious attention trains the mind to remain centered even when the world pulls in multiple directions. As practice deepens, life begins to shift. Decisions are guided by reflection rather than impulse. Energy is invested in what matters rather than dissipated on fleeting distractions. Presence becomes natural, and strength emerges quietly. The mind, once restless, now functions as a clear instrument of thought and action. This process is not sudden. It is a gradual transformation built through consistent awareness and disciplined focus. Each moment reclaimed from distraction reinforces freedom and cultivates a life aligned with purpose. The mind becomes a sanctuary from which intentional action and calm strength flow effortlessly. Attention shapes reality more than most people realize. Each thought entertained and each moment noticed builds the structure of your inner world. Epictetus would remind you that nothing external holds power unless you allow it to guide your mind. The disciplined mind chooses its focus and becomes unshakable amidst chaos. Examine the small ways in which attention slips away each day. A worry left unchecked, a fleeting curiosity, a moment spent on what is trivial can accumulate and scatter energy. When the mind is pulled in multiple directions, clarity diminishes and strength is lost. Awareness allows the mind to recognize these distractions and return to purpose repeatedly. The practice of reclaiming focus requires patience. Notice impulses without judging them. Observe which thoughts serve reflection, understanding, and calm. Redirect the mind gently to what strengthens presence. Each conscious return reinforces discipline and cultivates steady resilience. Over time, the effects of this practice become evident. Decisions are clear and deliberate. Actions emerge from insight rather than reaction. Energy is conserved for what truly matters. Distractions lose their grip, and the mind becomes a source of guidance and calm authority. This is the essence of Stoic attention. Freedom grows from careful direction of thought. Each moment reclaimed builds a life aligned with intention and principle. The mind, once scattered, transforms into a fortress of focus and clarity that empowers every choice and action with strength and purpose. Every choice about where to place your attention shapes the life you lead. Moments given to triviality accumulate and quietly steal the energy meant for growth and reflection. Epictetus would teach that freedom is born when the mind is guided intentionally and refuses to be pulled by every passing impulse. The one who masters focus builds strength that cannot be taken by circumstance. Reflect on how easily attention drifts in daily life. A fleeting worry, a sudden desire, a moment of curiosity may seem small, yet together they fragment the mind and scatter energy. Awareness allows you to notice these tendencies and return the mind gently to what is meaningful and sustaining. Each act of conscious focus strengthens resilience and cultivates presence. Reclaiming attention is not instantaneous. It requires repeated observation and deliberate guidance. Notice each thought as it arises. Decide whether it serves purpose, reflection, or calm. Release what distracts. Redirect what strengthens. Each return to purpose trains the mind to remain steady even when the world pulls in many directions. As this practice deepens, life changes subtly yet profoundly. Decisions arise with clarity rather than impulse. Actions reflect intention rather than reaction. The mind grows grounded, and energy is focused on what matters most. Distractions lose their hold, and calm authority emerges naturally from within. This work of deliberate attention builds inner freedom, each moment reclaimed. Reinforces strength, clarity, and presence. Over time, the scattered mind transforms into a sanctuary from which every thought and action flows with purpose. The life shaped from such awareness becomes aligned with principle and guided by steady insight. Life is often lost in the unnoticed drift of attention. Hours pass while the mind chases fleeting impressions and responds to every small disturbance. Epictetus would say that the person who cannot govern their own focus is not truly free. Attention is the gateway to inner strength and the foundation upon which deliberate action is built. Observe how often your mind moves toward what is trivial or urgent yet unimportant. A minor worry, a fleeting curiosity, or a passing distraction may feel insignificant, yet they slowly fragment energy and diminish clarity. Awareness allows you to see these patterns and return the mind repeatedly to what is meaningful and sustaining. Each act of deliberate focus strengthens resilience and cultivates calm presence. Reclaiming attention requires patience, repeated practice, and gentle persistence. Notice impulses as they arise and decide which serve reflection, understanding, or purpose. Release the rest without judgment. Each return reinforces discipline and teaches the mind that it belongs to you rather than the world around you. As focus deepens, you will notice a transformation. Decisions are guided by clarity rather than reaction. Actions arise from insight rather than impulse. Energy is directed toward what matters most, and scattered thoughts lose their hold. The mind becomes a steady companion capable of navigating life with calm confidence. This is the work of living deliberately. Freedom is nurtured through conscious attention and patient guidance of thought. Each reclaimed moment strengthens presence and cultivates a life aligned with principle, purpose, and inner strength. Over time, the mind transforms from scattered energy into a source of clarity, authority, and quiet resilience. Moments of stillness reveal the depth of what has been lost when attention drifts unchecked. Thoughts wander silently, carrying energy away from what truly matters. Epictetus would teach that mastery begins when the mind is observed and directed with intention. Freedom arises when focus is claimed and protected from trivial distractions. Examine the patterns of your mental life. How often does attention follow worry, desire, or curiosity without purpose? These habits may feel natural, yet they fragment awareness and diminish strength. Observing the mind allows you to intervene and return to what builds clarity, resilience, and presence. Each deliberate act of attention is a step toward reclaiming control. Developing mastery over the mind requires patience and repeated practice. Notice every impulse and decide whether it serves reflection, growth, or understanding. Release thoughts that do not contribute to purpose and guide energy toward those that strengthen the inner life. Each return reinforces steady focus and cultivates calm authority. As this practice deepens, life itself begins to shift. Decisions arise from insight rather than reaction. Actions flow from clarity rather than scattered impulses. Energy is conserved for what matters most, and distractions gradually lose their influence. The mind becomes a reliable guide in all circumstances, capable of discerning what is essential and releasing what is fleeting. This is the essence of Stoic discipline. Freedom is built quietly from within through careful observation and consistent direction of attention. Each moment, reclaimed, strengthens purpose and cultivates a life aligned with principle, strength, and deliberate choice. The mind, once scattered, becomes a sanctuary, from which wisdom, calm, and resilience naturally emerge. Awareness brings the first true sense of control over the mind. Each time attention drifts unnoticed, energy is lost and clarity fades. Epictetus would remind you that no one can dominate your thoughts unless you allow it. The disciplined mind chooses its focus, and in doing so builds inner strength that is impervious to external disturbance. Consider how often minor distractions influence the flow of your day. A fleeting curiosity, a passing worry, a moment spent on trivial matters gradually erodes presence and fragments energy. Observing these tendencies without judgment allows the mind to return to purpose again and again. Each act of deliberate focus strengthens resilience and reinforces calm authority. Reclaiming attention requires patience and repeated practice. Notice impulses as they arise and decide whether they serve reflection, understanding, or growth. Release what does not and guide the mind toward what nurtures clarity and deliberate action. Each return reinforces mastery and cultivates the habit of steady presence. As this practice continues, life begins to feel aligned. Decisions are informed by insight rather than impulse. Actions arise from clarity rather than reaction. Energy concentrates on what matters most, and distractions lose influence. The mind becomes a source of calm guidance, capable of navigating challenges with quiet confidence. This is the work of intentional living. Freedom grows not from changing circumstances, but from mastering the direction of thought. Each reclaimed moment strengthens purpose, cultivates clarity, and fortifies inner resilience. The scattered mind transforms into a sanctuary of deliberate attention from which every action and choice flows with strength and intention. Discipline of attention shapes the quality of every experience. Each moment spent without awareness allows distraction to claim energy meant for reflection and purpose. Epictetus would say that true freedom arises when the mind is trained to remain steady and deliberate. The one who guides focus intentionally becomes resilient regardless of circumstance. Examine how easily attention moves toward what is urgent yet trivial. Minor worries, fleeting desires, and passing curiosities quietly fragment energy and weaken clarity. Awareness allows recognition of these patterns and the opportunity to redirect focus toward what strengthens the mind and nurtures understanding. Each conscious return builds presence and reinforces inner authority. Training the mind requires patience and consistent practice. Observe thoughts as they appear and decide which ones deserve your energy. Release those that do not serve reflection, growth, or calm. Each deliberate act of attention strengthens resilience and cultivates steady clarity. Over time, these repeated choices transform the way the mind responds to external events. As focus deepens, life begins to feel deliberate rather than reactive. Decisions emerge from insight rather than impulse. Actions flow with purpose rather than chaos. Energy is concentrated on what is essential, and distractions gradually lose power. Presence becomes natural, and the mind becomes a reliable guide through any challenge. This is the work of Stoic mastery. Freedom is nurtured within through conscious observation and deliberate direction of thought. Each reclaimed moment reinforces purpose, strengthens clarity, and cultivates a mind capable of navigating life with calm authority and unwavering intention. Every choice about where to place attention shapes the inner life and determines the quality of experience. Moments surrendered to distraction accumulate quietly yet profoundly. Epictetus would remind you that mastery begins when the mind is observed and guided with intention. A focused mind becomes a source of strength, calm, and clarity that no external force can disturb. Notice the small ways the mind is pulled in every day. A fleeting worry, a passing desire, or a trivial curiosity may seem harmless, yet they fragment energy and scatter awareness. Observing these impulses without judgment allows a gentle return to what truly matters. Each deliberate act of attention strengthens presence and cultivates steady resilience. Reclaiming focus requires patience, repeated effort, and persistent awareness. Observe every thought as it arises. Decide whether it serves growth, understanding, or reflection. Release what does not, and return the mind to what nourishes clarity and deliberate action. Each act reinforces mastery and builds the foundation for calm authority. Over time, this practice transforms life. Decisions are informed by insight rather than impulse. Actions emerge from clarity rather than reaction. Energy is directed toward what matters most, and distractions lose their power. The mind becomes a steady companion capable of discerning essential from trivial and responding with wisdom. This is the essence of living intentionally. Freedom is cultivated through deliberate attention and consistent practice. Each reclaimed moment strengthens purpose, fortifies resilience, and aligns life with principle. The mind, once scattered, becomes a sanctuary of focus and clarity from which deliberate action flows naturally and effortlessly. Focus is the foundation of a life lived with intention. Each thought, nurtured or neglected, shapes the path of energy and clarity within. Epictetus would say that mastery of the mind is the only true form of freedom. The individual who chooses where attention rests gains strength that cannot be shaken by circumstance. Reflect on the ways attention drifts throughout the day. A passing curiosity, a fleeting worry, or a small distraction may appear minor, yet they slowly disperse energy and fragment the inner life. Awareness allows recognition of these patterns and the ability to return the mind gently to what is meaningful and sustaining. Each deliberate act strengthens resilience and reinforces presence. Training the mind requires consistent practice and patience. Observe thoughts without judgment. Decide which thoughts serve reflection, growth, and understanding. Release what weakens focus and guide energy toward what builds clarity and calm. Each conscious return strengthens mastery and cultivates steady authority over mental habits. As this discipline deepens, life becomes more deliberate. Decisions arise from insight rather than reaction. Actions flow from clarity rather than impulse. Energy is concentrated on what matters most, and distractions lose their influence. The mind transforms into a reliable guide that navigates complexity with calm wisdom. Mastery of attention is the ultimate form of freedom. When the mind is steady, every thought deliberate, every action intentional, life itself becomes aligned with purpose. Epictetus would remind you that the soul belongs to no one but itself, and the direction of your focus determines the strength and clarity of every moment. Look deeply at the journey you have taken with your own mind. The scattered moments of distraction have been replaced with presence. The restless energy of wandering thoughts has been transformed into calm authority. Every act of returning attention has built resilience and reinforced the foundation of a life guided by principle rather than impulse. The practice does not end here. Every day presents countless choices about where focus will rest. Yet now you possess the skill to reclaim your attention whenever it drifts. Awareness has become a habit. Presence has become a companion. Strength has become natural because the mind is once again your own. In this quiet mastery, life flows with clarity and purpose. Decisions arise from insight rather than reaction. Actions emerge from reflection rather than chaos. Energy is directed to what matters most, and distractions no longer dominate. The mind stands as a sanctuary, a source of calm, wisdom, and deliberate power in every circumstance. This is the reward of disciplined attention. Freedom is cultivated from within through consistent awareness and deliberate choice. Each moment reclaimed reinforces inner strength, clarity and purpose. The scattered mind is transformed into a steady instrument capable of shaping a life of intention, meaning, and unwavering inner calm. This is the life Epictetus would call truly free. If this video gave you insights or sparked reflection, share your thoughts in the comments below. For more lessons and wisdom like this, subscribe to Stoicism Notebook and stay inspired.